Hey, hey, what's happening, people? It's Anthony Page, Bistro Theater. We're getting ready to go live, baby, live. Let me bring my co-host in. All right.
Great big powwow and welcome to the one and only Deja Denise.
Everybody say hi, Dave.
Awesome. Look at this beautiful queens I get to have a conversation with tonight. Good evening, ladies.
Hi, Mr. Anthony. How's it going?
Wonderful, wonderful. So I am Anthony Page. This is Blue Bistro Spotlight. And tonight with my co-host, DJ Miss Tan, we're going to be talking to Deja Denise.
Hi. So excited to be on.
Okay, I can kick it off because me and Deja go way back. I have watched Deja evolve. When I was living in Augusta, Georgia, she was still in high school at an arts high school called Davidson Fine Arts School. It's a Grammy Award-winning school, so it's a very prestigious arts academy. And you know, as a young woman, we worked on a couple of things together, and I just seen her evolve from a high school student into this wonderful woman. She left Augusta, went out to New York to go to NYU, recently graduated. So I've just kind of, you know, been sitting back and watching her evolve. And so I said, you know what, I really want to see how she's doing in her journey. So I thought this would be a good conversation. So tell us about it, Deja. Okay, you got your 4 years of NYU under your belt.
Yep.
Theater performance, right?
Yeah, I went for drama, and actually I have a minor in producing and in the business of media, technology, and entertainment.
Good. So we're all coming out of COVID, but I know New York was like ground zero for the United States.
Yeah.
So how is New York looking now in terms of the arts community starting to revive itself and grow?
Yeah, I mean, it's doing it. It's definitely, it's a gradual rebuild, but they're definitely opening back up the theater community. I know just prior to December especially, we were just starting to get auditions back up. I got a chance to do some in-person auditions, which I hadn't done in so long. All right, can you hear me now? Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry about that. But yeah, it was so nice to be in person and actually see people's faces and to feel people's energies and to get live feedback. And and then after December, after the kind of rebuild of COVID again, there was a shutdown for quite a few weeks. I was actually in a show that actually got postponed due to COVID, and it's making its way back. It's making its way back. I think what has become the thing that people are focused on a lot now is voiceover work. A lot of people have been doing voiceover in the city. And TV work, because there are a lot of crime shows and things happening here. In terms of theater and live performance, it's slowly building itself back up. It's slowly coming back.
You know, what they say is if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. I'm sure it's a grind. I lived in New York for a brief period of time, and it is some of the most competitive, creative artists I've ever met. I mean, just brilliant on so many levels, man. New York is intense.
Yeah. It is. And I talked to a lot of my friends. I mean, being that I graduated from NYU, we're all artists, we're all freelancers and creatives out here really going at it every single day. And it's something that we talk about quite often, actually, is trying to remember how to balance our lives and being people with also being artists, and also trying to build our careers and make names for ourselves. And we're up shooting this at this time of the morning, and then we're over here in this part of the city at this time of night, and somebody's here and somebody's there, and there's always things going on, and it feels like the days start to blend into each other. So we're constantly trying to remind each other, you know, remember to be in the present moment, and remember to, the grind isn't everything, you know.
So you have actress,
Yes. Yes.
singer, rapper, and producer.
Yes.
So, which one is your favorite?
Acting's my first love.
I can tell by the way you were just talking about it. You're just smiling all over the place.
Acting's my first love. It always has been. Mr. Page, Anthony Page, is actually my very first acting coach, my very first mentor. Sparked my love and my joy for it, and it's been in me ever since. And it's the thing that I know that it's going to be. I'm so passionate about the arts in general, but I know acting is going to be the thing that I'm going to pursue my mastery in.
You got this. It's okay. It's okay. Nothing bad's gonna happen. You got this.
Come. Shit. What's going on? Shit.
Love it, love it. And you are a spoken word artist, like she mentioned. I'm sure you're gonna break us off something before the night's over, right?
Yes, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, man. Come on now. You got to do this little thing. But I want to talk about the journey, because the whole point of me doing this is just so we can connect across the states, across the country, connect with artists, because what I've learned from being in the industry as long as I have, there is no clear way to be successful. Somebody can do this and hit that mark, and somebody can do the identical thing and not get there. So trying to learn what others are doing to make their career happen. What are some of the ways that you're having to be innovative or unique or creative in the way that you're building your creative enterprise?
Yeah.
What are some of the hard lessons and best practices that you've learned?
Yeah, so in terms of innovation, I actually, at my time at NYU, I was a part of a lab. I was in either the third year of it. It was called Making It a Mastery as a Multi-Hyphenate Artist. It was taught by Bryce Dallas Howard, who is a actress, director, producer. And part of that lab was really delving into and discovering what it means to be in so many disciplines of the arts at one time, and what it is and what it looks like to create that as a career. And some of the things that we did was, one of the things she did for us was just completely throwing us into it. My very first production my very first short film that I produced was, she gave us a $500 budget. We had ideas, we did development for it, and then it was kind of go at it, figure it out. And that was probably one of the most stressful times I think one of the most stressful things I've ever encountered, but I also learned so much that I base my daily practice off of from that experience, from those couple of months. Number one, the worst thing that can happen is someone can say no. That's the worst thing.
Right.
What's going to happen is someone can say no.
Right.
And knowing that, I've been more willing to put myself out there and to ask for opportunities and to look for the doors and not always wait for them to come to me. Another thing that we learned is how important our collaborators are, and knowing who kind of our forever collaborators will be, or just collaborators in general. So what I've been trying to do, what I've been doing with my career is investing in my collaborators and myself, and instead of waiting for projects to come to us, very much so like what you do, Mr. Sage, is we create things ourselves.
Right.
I just recently launched my creative agency, which is a creative consulting, direction, and development agency, and it sparked from the need of my peers and my collaborators who don't really know as much of the business side of building their careers, and understanding the branding side and understanding the social media aspects of it. it's so we don't have to wait for someone else to come and tell us how to do these things, and we don't have to wait to pay someone else to come and do these things. We can learn how to do them ourselves, and we can build our brand and our careers ourselves. And we're not even, and it's not even that we're like waiting for like someone else in the industry to tell us who to be. We're deciding that and building that with our peers and our collaborators and the people that we love to work with. And I think something that I found in the work that we create, because we do love working with each other so much, and even the new collaborators that I've started to build with, is that the sense of passion in a project just makes it so much more fun to work on, and it makes it so much more more interesting, even when things are thrown at you and they don't always go the way you would plan them to. It just brings a new excitement, a new joy to a project, working with people that you love working with.
Good. Let's talk about the project. So what is that project for you? Like, is it that big Broadway show someday? Is it that feature film someday? Is it that television series someday? What is that project that you're really aiming for?
That's a really great question. At first, when I first moved here, it was that big Broadway show. It was that major multi-million-dollar movie, or it was all of those things. I think what you were saying earlier about the definition of success is that it's subjective. I think what success looks like for me is being able to do the thing that I love to do every day, and it not having to be, like it not having to be like I have to do it because I have to pay my bills, or I have to, like, it's something that I can't, like, I love to do and I can do it, and I have the time and the space to be able to do it. That's what it looks like for me now.
Hi guys, I'm Deja. Everybody say hi, Deja. Good. I just had to make sure y'all were with me tonight. I'm gonna need y'all later, so make sure y'all stay there. I'm gonna put you on in preparation for this first song because I don't want everybody to be in the same mood I was in when I first wrote this song. So turn to the person next to you and say, person next to me. I'm a bad bitch. Now say it one more time to them. Make sure they know I'm a bad bitch. Let's try. See, that's the stuff they were trying to clean up, making sure nobody got it. Let's try. This right here is the introduction. Real clean, baby, watch how I bust it. Keep a wet wipe on me, kiss a bum, try to touch it. Learn that from the queen. We need to discuss it. I'm entering into the rap scene. As a spoken word artist, but can't hold me to one thing. That's not a big me. My shit speaks for itself.
Talked about your favorite part, learning different process from the person that you learned from, right?
Yeah.
So you were very young when you got started.
It was.
So who inspired this journey from the beginning?
From the beginning, man, I grew up in a family who really, the arts have always been a center of a core to our family, you could say. I have two uncles who also, before me, went to Davidson, which is the high school that I went to that that was mentioning earlier. They went to Davidson, and they also, one of my uncles went to Elon and did a musical theater program, and then moved up here to New York and has been a dancer at a professional company here for the last 25 years. My other uncle went to a school in New Orleans for classical music, and he moved up here and is an opera singer. My great father was a gospel singer, and it was a part of this really great gospel group that was popular in the South. They traveled all around the South singing and stuff like that, and I grew up in the church singing. It's just always been, it's been a way for my family to connect. It's always been at our core, and I'm so grateful I'm very, very grateful for it, because I think they really cultivated that artistic spirit and that creative spirit in me, and I'm very, very grateful and appreciative for it.
So the reason, Anthony, I was so excited to speak with you because I saw that you were multi-hyphenated and you've done so many things, and plus you were, so young when you started, but that you still have the perseverance to keep going. And then tonight you're telling us you're still creating things for others. So as a woman, what keeps you motivated with everything else that we experience while we're in the industry?
Yeah. My sisters, I have 8 of them, and I am the oldest. And I think what's really important to me, and they remind me of this unconsciously, but I'm reminded how much, not even just my, but all of my siblings look up to me, but my sisters specifically, the role model that I am to them, and the challenges that are presented being a woman in this industry. I want them to know that they can navigate them, and that doesn't have to be a reason that they can't succeed in the way that they want to. That doesn't have to be a reason to keep them from their visions, because I want them to dream just as big as I'm dreaming, and still, and then and then more, you know.
Well, so let's talk about some of those struggles. I hate to use that word, struggles.
Yeah.
Obstacles. What are some of the things that have gotten in your way? You know,
Yeah.
Some of those moments that really kind of put you on the ropes for a second, or knocked you back, or slowed you down.
Yeah, I think most of my frustrations have been, especially since I've just graduated college, and I'm still making that transition post-grad, have just been mostly financial things, like just kind of financial struggles, resources mostly, is finding resources and securing resources in a way that I feel confident in moving forward with focusing specifically on my creative career. I think that has been one of my biggest obstacles. I think that's been one of my biggest obstacles. I see myself as a resourceful person, so anything else that is kind of I've just always been I'm ready. Let's do this. Let's find a solution. Let's get past it. You know.
Well, let me dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
Of course, you're Black and you're a woman, right? Are you feeling any of that in New York? New York is supposed to be this beacon of diversity. Do you feel any barriers coming into the room as a woman, or coming into the room as a young person, or coming into the room as a Black person? Has that figured into some of the access to certain things in New York?
I remember during my undergrad time, I asked my teachers, what should when I walk into a room for a specific character, a specific audition, what should my hair look like? Because they were giving all of these, feedback and advice and tips and tricks and things like that, and no one could answer me. And there were questions when we were in these industry classes and these career building courses, and they were like, find 3 people in the industry that look like you, that's your type. And people that have a similar temperature as you, just find people that are similar to you. And
right.
I had such a difficult time actually finding. Okay, there we go. I had such a difficult time who I felt resonated with me, who had a similar background with me. And I think even now, specifically for college age YA content, majority of the young Black women who are in who's in that category are lighter, fairer skinned, or have longer, curlier hair, and it's a very specific type that I feel like I've had a difficult time breaking into that and breaking the industry for that reason, because I don't have that look. I don't have the commercial look, I think that's what it is. I think that's what's commercial right now. That's what's in right now. And I think battling that for my own self-confidence as a performer and as a creative, that has definitely been an obstacle for me. And then even
but again, just to jump in there on that,
yeah,
who defines what that commercial look is like? You see what I mean?
Right.
Who's defining that? Yeah, enough with that, man. That's what I think Tyler Perry was saying. You got to build your own table.
Yeah, and that's what we're working on, building our own table, not waiting for anyone to. I'm not waiting.
There is no reason to be afraid of who you're becoming. Even when growth is the scariest failure, you haven't even failed yet. But take the chance. Soon you're stuck there, realize you're tired of being where you're dancing the wrong dance. So I cut the music off and started making my own.
So tell me about what you're working on right now. Then, what are some of the things that you're working on right now? What can we see or expect from you in the next couple of months? Say.
Yeah, so I'm working on exploring other pieces of my artistry, my other hyphenates. I have been, a few people know this, but I have been working on a single for a while that I plan on releasing before the summer. And yeah, I'm very.
Is it a spoken word single or a music or song?
So it is a song, but it is going to be on my EP that should be finished by the fall. And my EP is also going to be musical with spoken word elements to it. Yeah, and it's going to have, yes, I'm very, very excited about it. And then my creative agency, like I said, I just launched in January. We're working on a couple of projects to be seen, to kind of promote our agency and promote our work. But it's going to be a series of shoots that surround Blackness and artistry and creativity. And I'm very excited to get started with that with my team.
Good.
Those are the things that I am currently working on that I can disclose at least.
And you know what? And for me, I'm so excited that you're creating your own opportunities. Because when I started off, many moons ago, I was waiting for that opportunity to come along so I could really show them what I could do. That opportunity never came. And for a lot of reasons, it wasn't like you weren't talented enough or committed enough. You got to have the right agents. It's got to be the right film. In Atlanta at the time, there wasn't a lot of films being made.
Yeah.
The few films that came here, a lot of the big opportunities were booked out of LA and New York.
Yeah.
So yeah, the shooting here, but there wasn't a lot of, you can grab an opportunity here.
Right.
And so that's what propelled me to move into that space. And I love it. I love, being a master of my own fate.
Yeah.
I can't greenlight an Avengers Endgame, but I can decide, hey, I want to do this and just start moving.
Yeah.
In the process.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that because it's the people, the projects, and the process. When you're creating, what are some of the lessons you learn? Because of course, when you're indie, you're underfunded and you're understaffed. You don't have all the resources you need to get that project done. You don't have all the expertise and the people to get that thing done. So how are you adapting in that respect?
Yeah. It was very interesting. When we were shooting my spoken word short film, I remember the first part of it I shot in Augusta. And the opportunities there were a lot more present because I knew people there, and I was to go out and ask the community for support, and I'm so grateful for it, and they really did show up and show out for that. Coming back to New York and shooting the other portion of it, it was such a whirlwind. I remember specifically, I went to this specific bodega that we shoot in Chelsea, and I had an internship near there. Luckily, I went up there every day for 3 weeks until I could find the owner. I finally got in touch with him, and I remember, like I said, there was a lack of resources and things, so we had to quickly figure out a solution. I was like, hey, can I maybe get all of my crew meals here in exchange for us shooting here for a couple of, it was things like that where I think I learned, one, like I said, the worst thing someone can say is no, but two, always expect something to go wrong being on set. Or not even just, I think always be prepared. I never go on set thinking everything that I planned is going to go perfectly to a T, because I know that that's not going to happen. So I usually have some sort of backup plans in place, some sort of preparation that I go through, with my team. And I think in terms of production, I also learned that I think it's not always about how much money you have, because what we ended up making, what I'm really, really proud of it, but it's about the people that you have working with you. And the collaborators that we had on set were people that we didn't know at all. However, they were interested in our work. They were interested in the project itself. They were interested in the log line. They were interested in what the film stood for. And I think when you find people who are also passionate about the project that you're making, it can turn out just as well as like add that extra 10,000 whatever plus dollars that you were looking for. Yeah.
So that's the creative process for that. When you are doing like your albums, your personal things, acting, because you have different talents that you are involved in, is your creative process the same if you're gonna rap, sing, act, or model? They're all different?
Yeah, they're all very different. However, I think each one of those things lend themselves to each other. I think, for instance, for acting, it's usually I'm given a script or I'm given material, and I go through the material and I dissect it, go through it first just to get a feel for it, then I go through it to understand it, then I go through it to get rid of any biases that I have against it.
Right.
And I think that is usually the major thing with acting that kind of differentiates it from the rest of my work. The things that are more personal to me that I create myself. With acting, what's really refreshing about it is that I get to explore so many different people's perspectives, and I get to utilize my empathy in a way that I don't get to every day. I think when in my other creative processes, it's very internal and specific and kind of cathartic in a way. I've been listening to people, for some reason I've been hearing this phrase a lot lately, that, you know, like about about creative suffering and things of that, and how that turns into art and things of that nature. But acting is different. I truly enjoy understanding other people's perspectives. I truly enjoy inviting someone else into a space, someone else meeting that character and being in the space with that character and getting to know them so intimately, because we don't always get to know people that intimately in that way. And I think that's the special part of acting, is the connection. And then with rapping and spoken word and singing and music, it's almost the opposite of that. It's people getting to know me, and that's also really special in a different way. It's vulnerability, but a different type of vulnerability than you experience in acting. Same thing with modeling. It's
that's interesting. Yeah. That's interesting you would say that, because I have a lot of slashers too. I direct, write, produce, et cetera, et cetera. And people say, why don't you focus? To me, it is focus. It's just like my creative energy just manifests itself in different ways.
Yeah.
But my process of acting or directing or producing is the same. It just comes out in a different way. Yeah. So to me, there is a focus and a convergence to it without, people like, oh, why don't you focus on that one thing? It's like, yeah, I tried to do that, and I found myself to be less effective.
Yeah.
When I have a lot of things going on, that's when I'm like, really, you see all these, I'll show you my office. And you see all those clipboards, each one of those is a project. You know what I mean? And I love that. That kind of keeps me moving. I'm like, okay, oh yeah. If I have one thing up there, I think I'm going to procrastinate.
Yeah.
So in your creative process, what have you learned about yourself?
Yeah, that's 100% true. I'm very, very similar. I feel like if I have one thing on my plate, then I'm like thinking, like, it's like, I work well under pressure. I think that's the one thing that I did that I definitely learned, that I work very well under pressure, and I work much better having multiple things on my plate than one thing on my plate at one time. Yeah, it's like, and it's almost like sometimes it's almost like a challenge to myself, and I feel kind of even excited by the challenge, and like, what, like, how can I creatively and artistically challenge myself today? Because I am always, and I think that's the other thing, is that I'm always a student. Like, I'm always learning in whatever realm I'm in. Like, even if it's not a class or specifically directly related to acting, I found that all of my experiences in life lend itself to my artistic practice. So I found myself, especially when I was in school, because the way that our curriculum was structured was that we did primary training first 2 years, and then the last 2 years we could decide whatever we wanted to do. I ended up taking 2 semesters off doing anything creatively so I could try to experience life, because I was finding that when I was in training, I just kept getting blocked. Like, I just kept getting blocked because there were things that I wasn't understanding because they hadn't happened to me yet. And I hadn't
that's good.
experienced enough of life to digest some of the things that my teachers were trying to teach me and help me understand. And I found my training it went outside the classroom. It was so much more than just what I was learning in the classroom. I think, like I said before, like, I think something that's so important to my creative process is empathy. And empathy can't be taught in a classroom. Like, it has to be, it's through life. It's through connection to life and people and your surroundings.
You know, you act like you're so perfect. Like you don't never do no wrong. Like I'm always the one fucking up. But for some reason, you just can't seem to remember the shit that I just can't seem to forget. Ever since we didn't set those vows, you were just never the same. 10 years came and went, and we don't got shit to show for it.
At the end of the day, you did what you had to do. All this time you didn't put up with this bullshit. Enough is enough. Enough is enough.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the, because I know I have my little list of the, I'm never gonna do that again.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some, you don't have to give me too much detail, but what are some of the things that, or the processes or experience that you've had, you're like, I'm not gonna repeat that. I'm not gonna do that again. I hate, do they say never, but the nevers, so to speak.
I think overextending my set. I will not do that again. I love indie sets, but I've had live in New York. I've had a couple of experiences on indie sets that I've had to kind of overextend myself and do things outside of, my job description, and it really made my experience as the actor it just wasn't a great experience at all.
Bootleg.
What'd you say?
Was it bootleg? Very bootleg?
It was kind of like, yes.
Bootleg, right.
Yes. It was kind of like one of those things where we didn't like I mean, I have no problem with doing like unpaid projects or anything like that, but like there was no water and they wanted us to cry all the time, or it was kind of like then they kind of wanted me to teach the other actors how to cry. It was kind of it was in they were unhealthy.
But you were a producer basically.
Yeah, like I and that tends, when I'm on indie sets, I'm like, no, I do not want to get pulled into that role. But I do tend to get pulled into producer making decisions when I'm like, this is not that's not what I'm doing on this set. I'm here to focus specifically on this part and to put my focus into this part. And I'm also the type of person that tends to want to lend myself to the production to make it as great as it can be, but I've had to learn to set boundaries for myself in my career. Even being a multi-hyphenate, just knowing when I'm here to do a certain job and to do that job and to keep it pushing, so I'm not overextenuating myself.
Mm,
Hard,
love it.
very hard when you're there though, and you see something going wrong, and you're like, should I not? Should I?
Yeah.
Hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've learned too to be a little bit more understanding, because I get it. Those filmmakers or those theater producers that I found myself in those kinds of productions, they're doing the best they can with what they have.
Yep.
So what I've learned to do is make sure I vet the people and their process before I commit to working with them. Because what I found is some people are so charismatic in this industry. You meet them, they're warm, they're friendly, and you can see the smartness of it. But they don't have the experience to do what they're going to do. And a lot of us won't have the experience when you're doing something for the first time, but I mean, they're green.
Yeah.
It's like pre-green. You're not even green, you're pre-green kind of thing. You know what I mean? And it can be a little disheartening for somebody. And another thing that I found is that when you try to tell them the truth, they look at you as if, oh, he's a know-it-all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. You know what I mean? And then and that's a struggle for me, because I see you heading for a brick wall. If I say something, you're going to be mad at me. But can I, in good conscience, watch you head toward that brick wall and not say anything?
Right.
Yeah. So it's tough, man, because you know, because of our experience as Black people in America, it integrates and it's in everything that we do. You know.
Yeah. Especially in spaces where I don't necessarily feel like my opinion is valued, or even if I don't feel like anyone is receptive to it, if anyone's even open to it, and I can see them heading for that brick wall, I'm just kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
If you do say something and then they start to require more of you and more of you and more of you and more of you, and it's kind of, that's where I'm like, all right, that's why I kind of have learned to set my boundaries early on and stick to them throughout the production. I wish I would have vetted those productions first, though, Miss Anthony.
Yeah.
I really do. But I mean,
it makes a big difference, because you burn bridges and you didn't mean to.
Yeah.
It's just, it was such a chaos. Everybody comes out of that production not wanting to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Nobody won in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you know, to kind of jump into what you were saying. So you're in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn's in the house. Okay, I got that out. All right. But you're a Southern girl.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the way you think and maybe your priorities, the way you process and experience life, maybe it's kind of coming from a Southern lens. Now, how is that interacting with the New Yorkers, right? You know, that cultural shift or difference? Or
actually, I think the biggest troubles that I've had I actually haven't had that many. I haven't had that much tension with that, because I think even though I grew up in the South, I think my thinking has kind of been more, not like a Northern way of thinking, but my thinking aligns with the way a lot of people here think, which is why I've felt so comfortable and confident when moving to the city, because it feels like I feel a sense of belonging here. which I've found to be very refreshing as well. The things that I do find tension with, however, is that no one here eats sweet potato pie. They all like pumpkin pie, and that is insulting to me. It's so insulting.
Deja, you're gonna have to become a cook and make your own.
I do. Every Thanksgiving dinner, they're like, Deja's bringing the pie. I'm like, y'all know I am, because I'm not letting y'all make any pumpkin pie for this. I don't know how to walk in the snow yet. I'm still figuring that out. Sometimes I walk and it like gets in my mouth and my nose, and I can't figure it out. I can't breathe and walk in at the same time. I'm still figuring it out. It's okay. You can laugh at me. I'm still figuring it out. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy something that I had a lot of issues with in the South was, or at least where I was from in the South, was the closed-minded nature of it all. Even when I was moving to New York, not to make a generalization, but just where I grew up, a lot of it was very closed-minded. And no, we don't eat pumpkin pie. But yes, y'all do. Yes,
Right.
Where in Brooklyn are you? Tell her where to get some pie from so she don't have to bake her own all the time.
Tell me where to get a good sweet potato pie from. But yeah, even when I was first moving up here, people were kind of like, why do you want to go to New York? New York is so far away. New York is so this. New York is so that. It's so dangerous, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, New York is just, there's just a lot of people here. And that's what happens in cities. When there's a bigger concentration of people, the rates are higher for things here. And that's the only tension that I had with coming here, was just, I just get into a space where people are a lot more open-minded to things, because there are so many different cultures here, and there's so many different avenues and pathways and types of people, and it really opened up a new world to me, because that was something that growing up in Georgia I had not been exposed to as much. Things there are very black and white a lot of the times, and here there's so many things to consider. And
right.
That is even that has, in my personal growth, it's deepened me as a person, but my artistic growth as well. Just Fulton Street for sweet potato pies, or any bodega.
Okay.
Bodega. I don't know. We're gonna have to talk about this afterwards. But yeah.
So Deja, tell me this, because you went to art school, so a lot of things you were taught, but it sounds like a lot of things you had to learn along the way because you wanted to learn. So if you had to give advice to another brown girl, something that you didn't know until you learned it, what would be something that you would tell her?
Or him.
Or him. Yeah.
Or they.
Yeah.
Let's, you know.
And what I would tell them, I would tell them, even in the spaces where you don't feel welcome, don't make yourself smaller. If anything, take up as much space as possible.
I love that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Let's
build on that. You said take up as much space as possible.
I know exactly.
Tell me what do you mean by that?
I mean,
that's a thesis right there.
Yes.
When people make you feel like there is no space for you, make it.
Yes.
Be yourself fully. Do not pull back. Don't bite your tongue. Don't deafen yourself. Like, don't be yourself to the fullest extent, because I promise you, it's the only way you're gonna grow. Trying to grow from being inside a box, it's gonna stifle your growth.
Yeah.
The reason why you started and the reason why you came to that space in the first place, it's gonna stifle it. Just be yourself to the fullest. That's
Yeah.
You just
And
spoke.
I love that because, you know, one of go ahead.
You just spoke to the little girl inside of me. That was
Yeah.
so powerful, and that is so on point. So on point.
Yeah. And at the, you know, I can definitely relate, because as an artist, I'm very unique. But people have always tried to tell me I need to be something else. And I've actually did that on a few occasions, trying to, you know, mold myself to be what they thought would be better for me in my career. And I'm like, and I was miserable. I'm like, nah, you know, getting out of that. And when you shine, a lot of people can't stand it. That's, you know, Kevin Hart was on the Breakfast Club, and he talked about this a couple months ago. We're the only people that do that. This idea that only one of us can make it. You know, so it's hard for some people to want to applaud your success. And I see it all the time, and it's just like, because let me tell you, when I have a big accomplishment, like I won an award recently, and, you know, I posted it on social media, I saw my numbers go down. The number of likes went down. I got unfollowed a few times. I'm like, ooh, look at this, haters. But it doesn't bother me, because I've learned looking at people like Tyler Perry in many ways, because I was in Atlanta in the early days of his career, and kind of that Atlanta elite in that time maybe kind of rejected him, because he was like Midland circuit, right? Yeah. But he got out and he found that group of people who valued who he is and what he created. And that group is still with him, and it's larger, and they bought him a military base. Yeah. So I stopped appealing to that 1% of these industry people who are constantly going to tell you to you know, dance a jig. Yeah. I'm just trying to find that group of people who value who you are and what you represent. That's your audience. That's where you spend your time with your 99%, basically.
Yeah. Right. There is an audience out there for everything, and I think things that I'm extremely grateful for, just in this day and age, pluses and minuses here, but social media, it has been so much easier to find that audience and to find that niche, because they are out there. And when you find that community, it's a special feeling when people appreciate your value. It's a special feeling.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, I think we can wrap it up, and we can wrap it up with, you're gonna break us off as something.
Okay.
Break them off.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, do a proper intro. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage, and Facebook will know, Instagram, IG Live, Miss Deja Denise. She's gonna break us off a spoken word. Please bring it to us.
Bring y'all something to bring a throwback. Okay. I like to groove, I like to move, I love the lovely rhythms that ensue. Every blood platelet, artery, and vein in my body that tells it just to move. I feel the contractions in my system when I need to relax, in the air around my body, through my ears and my back, and I know you feel that vibe, that movement that cannot be suppressed. Inside it is that creative to miss, and you feel it when it flows. When thoughts start to develop, they say, hey, I need to be known, whether it's through word of mouth, mouth to word, through the pigments and the bristles. I need to be heard. I am an artist, an ARTIST. And if you don't know what that means, I suggest you watch and see. Watch how I walk through the streets, how I stare at the trees, the clouds in the sky, the birdies as they sing. Chirp, 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 girl. They say, you better take this melodious melody, make it into a scene, something you can sing, something they can read, something to make them say, hey, you will remember me in my artistry. Something that is not always underestimated, but misunderstood. This society mislabels me because they do not understand me. I have been taught that if I am the one to step out of line, then I am the one that needs to be fixed. Since I don't see black and white lines, but I see black, white, purple, blue, gray, orange lines in between. Since everyone else is over there and D is over here, indeed, I am still a human being, but I guess you can say I'm a different breed. Top of the 10, said to be blessed by W.E. I am an ARTIST, an ARTIST, an ARTIST. And yes, that has something to do with my thinking, but it will not change. It will not be weakened. It isn't my passion. It isn't my soul. If you do not know me, then you must know I'm not boring. I will not conform. I'm not uniform to what you want me to be. I am vibrant. I am unique. And that is my artistry.
Yes, love that. Love that. So for our audience that's listening, we're going to close out, but tell us how they can keep in touch with you.
Okay, everyone, you can keep in touch with me by following me on my Instagram. It is at d.e.j.a.a. That is the best way to keep in touch with me. I post pretty much all of my links from there. You can find me on Facebook at Deja D Green. You can find me at my website at dejadgreen.com. And yeah, that's me. Thank you so much.
Kick it over to Miss DJ. She's going to close us out.
Deja, I always like, the people that we're speaking to, just leave us with the word of the day, the thought of the day. Tell us what's on your mind. Tell us what you want to leave your fans.
Crazy world and everything's happening right now, empathy. I'd like to leave the word empathy.